Welcome to Rewired Sober, the podcast that breaks down the real reasons women turn to alcohol. Spoiler alert, it wasn't a character flaw. It was your neurobiology, your conditioning, and the systems that taught women to silence themselves instead of support themselves. I'm your host, Kate Vitella. I've been a registered nurse for well over 2 decades, trained in addiction and mental health, a bit neuroscience obsessed, but spiritually grounded. This is the science and soul work of a woman's recovery, where I help you understand what's happening in your sober brain and reconnect to that deeper inner truth you've always had, that soul level knowing, the intuition the patriarchy has tried to train out of you. When women combine the science of the brain rewiring with that inner knowing, you stop feeling broken and you start feeling powerful. So let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of Rewired Sober. Let's talk about something that sounds helpful, but can also feel kind of low-key infuriating. When people tell you to just regulate your nervous system. Okay. When I hear that, I feel like, okay, great, cool. Let me just do this really quick in between, work, life, step parenting, existential dread, try not to lose my shit in the Costco parking lot. And here's what I've been noticing. A lot of conversation on the internet about nervous system regulation and somatic work and being grounded and being calm. And some of it's incredibly validating. And yet some of it can feel like a new version of just think positive or just stay calm. Like, don't tell me to stay calm. I'll lose my shit. But if you're a woman and you're already carrying a lot, it can start to feel like, cool, one more thing I'm doing wrong, right? Like I forgot to tweeze my chin hairs. I still wear ankle socks with running shoes. I just learned that's not cool. I have jowls, and my nervous system isn't regulated enough. So today, we're not throwing out any gaslighting about nervous system conversation. We're going to tell the truth about it. Because what I see in my work, and especially with women navigating sobriety, midlife, burnout, and all the big transitions is, most women are not behind. They're not doing it wrong. They're overwhelmed, disconnected, and often running on systems that were never designed to support them in the first place. So, of course, they're numbing out with all the things. So today I'm going to bring on a guest, someone who works directly with mind, spirit, and body, and really about what's actually happening underneath all of it. And we're going to talk about empowerment. But of course, we have to talk about the nervous system because this is an important component, but without turning it into another thing that women are doing that they are failing at. So I'm bringing on Amyee Owen. She's a former ER nurse turned somatic mentor and nervous system coach for high-achieving women who are done building success at the expense of their bodies. With a background in emergency medicine, advanced training in somatic trauma resolution, and transformational breath work, Amyee understands high-pressure environments and high-capacity humans. She knows what it means to perform under stress and what it costs your nervous system when it never truly comes down. So through nervous system supportive coaching, somatic integration, transformational breath work, she's helping clients feel regulated, radiant, and fully at home within themselves. Welcome, Amyee, to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so we are both nurse coaches, and we were just talking before we hit record on how a lot of people don't know what that is. But I met Amyee through a nurse coaching container where we were working toward building our businesses and studying for the exams, get board certified, and really a cool group of nurses coming together who are burned out at the bedside and looking for other ways to really connect with people, not to sound cheesy, right? But to really truly connect with other humans. And so I really like that you're in this space of kind of the in between of body and mind, and also you're helping other coaches as well. That's kind of cool for me because I've just done previous episodes on like, damn, I'm in this burnout phase in my personal life, in my professional life, and I'm midlife, so I'm kind of out of fucks, and a lot of things boiling up, and I think we can have a real honest conversation about this. So
Yes.
let's start with, well, first, tell us a little bit about you, besides what I just read in your very long, impressive bio.
Yeah, a little bit about me. So when I think flashback 6 or 7 years ago, I just moved through one of maybe the hardest times in my life. And I got attacked by pit bulls. I had these like major traumas happening in my life. I just kind of was like getting inundated with all sorts of things. And my body like just felt it so much, all of it. And at the same time, I was working in the ER and wanting something different, wanting to do different work. And so my healing journey over the last 6, 7 years has really been something that has fueled what I do for work. And it has been my own journey of like learning how to reside in my body and like be safe in my body in a different way that, yeah, like as I moved through those really big experiences, like I just wasn't able to after.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really what I've built and what I do for work is maybe selfish is not the right word, but it's like very self-serving and that it's what I
Isn't it always, right?
right? Yeah, it's like really what I have needed to do in myself to live and be and feel the way that I wanted to, right? Like I really have wanted to just trust and know myself and feel like free and wild and alive and full. And so that's like driven a lot of what I've done. And it's been very humbling and very fucking real in that
Yeah.
experience. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't, like as we talked about, like there's no arriving on this journey. It's like we just like go through it continuously and there's different layers and it's a spiral. And so yeah, that's about me, a little bit about my journey.
So you said something that is a great segue into how I want to introduce this topic, because I myself am definitely not an expert on this, but I hear this thrown around and you just said it. Be in your body.
Hmm.
Be
Hmm.
more present in your body. A friend of mine was telling me a story about going on a girls' trip, and this girl she was with was all erratic and doing all these things and saying all these things. And she said, and she wasn't even in her own body. And I literally was like, I don't know what that means. Like, I've been an RN for 25 years. I don't know tell me what that means.
Yeah, for me, what that means, and I'll just give like a real lived version, not like a textbook description, but like for me, what that means is that I'm able to feel and hear and know what's happening in my body. So, sensations, emotions, experiences, intuition, and how that speaks to me, knowing and how that feels. So being in my body to me feels and is being able to like access those things and feel those things. And that wasn't always the case for me. I lived a lot of my life not being in my body.
Yeah, you said the word access. And that's what resonates with me, is maybe being able to access that place of calm. Is that what you're talking about?
So when I think of this, especially when we get into I'm 41, I've lived a very busy life, a very full life. I have a very full life. I'm a mom. I'm an entrepreneur. We live so full and we have been so rewarded for our productivity, our worth is like rewarded with how much output we have. And like, there's just so much conditioning that leads to this place of disconnection to our body and mindset, like being in our head all the time. And so when I think of this, I think of going from here, being up here in our head, building a road, building a bridge, or maybe clearing that road that's maybe been severed, clogged, whatever, from trauma, from living at really fast pace, from being just overloaded with toxins, whatever it is. Clearing that bridge, clearing that pathway so that you have the access to the body and have the access to the intuition, have the access to the knowing. Because without that access, we really can't hear it. It's just not there. And it's not our fault necessarily. It's like we live in a patriarchal society. We live with like really high expectations for being highly independent and not having our being supported adequately. There's like so much that comes into it, but it's also like we have the ability to clear that road so that we can listen and we can trust in that way. And that's the journey. It's really connecting the mind to the body and the spirit and the soul that lives within us.
Yeah, I love that. So it's definitely more than just mindset work, which I think can be overused, overplayed out on the internet for sure in the coaching space. I mean, what I do is a lot of mindset work, but I'm really interested in this somatic part because like you said, there's a block if we can't get there. So, what do you see? Like I think a lot of women are disconnected, deeply disconnected with their own body.
Yeah, I would agree. I think not just women, but like humans in general. I see it show up in many different ways. And maybe that is just chronic stress patterns. So it's like chronic tension, chronic pain, and an inability to like really slow down and like kind of settle. And it's not about being zen, but the inability to really like be present and settle in the moment. So this feeling of being really wired, but tired. So not able to like shift down. I see women feeling like they're doing all the right things and they've lived and created life that should feel a certain way, but they feel kind of hollow on the inside. Like there's this overarching sense of like, this just isn't it, right? It should be it. I've checked all the boxes. I'm doing so fucking much. Why don't I feel different, right? Like, why don't I feel more fulfilled or why isn't it working? Right. I'm doing all the things. Like, why am I not feeling the way that I want to feel? So, like, that disconnect there of this imbalance. And then they also like chronic, this like weird health problems oftentimes when we're disconnected from our body starts showing up or, chronic pain, chronic tension, but like autoimmune stuff. Things that the doctor's like, everything's fine, but you're fine. Maybe go sleep more. And that's just so gaslighting and infuriating to you. You're like, I don't feel fine, right? Like, I don't feel good. Like, what is wrong? So that tends to come in. Um, and I think a lot of women that come to me are in this like big transition periods of their life where they're like, they're in their 40s or they're in their 30s and they're like, I have created exactly what I was told to. So I bought the house, I had the marriage, I have done the big job, I've done the thing. And I feel like I'm trapped in a box that's too small. And I want to get out of it. And this is fucking bullshit, really.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, what if you there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide because you built a life that you don't like. I hear that a lot too. And so as women, especially in midlife, I'm pushing 47, that this is a real thing for a lot of us, waking up and looking around. And the things that we do to self-soothe and ignore the life we've built, right? The scrolling, the eating of carbs and the shopping and gambling, in my case, drinking, women around me drinking, obsessing over my weight, whatever it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
My sister likes to say we're all escape artists. And that, hashtag dopamine nation. Like
Right.
I love it when we say that. But how are you helping when you're having conversations with women or men? I'm not sure if you coach both. I always leave men out of this podcast. Sorry, not sorry. There's enough for you, men. There's nothing for us. No, when you're coaching people, like, what does that conversation look like?
It's really honest, first of all. Like, well, what do you actually want? Like, what do you actually want? What do you actually want to be different? And oftentimes they're like, I don't know, right? Because I don't know, but I just know it's not this. So there might be a disconnection, or there might be some deep desire that they've just never really given themselves permission to feel or be with, or oftentimes it's like being very loving and present and patient with hearing them and listening and honoring what they actually want under it all. And oftentimes people don't know because they're so freaking busy. Like we're so full and busy and on and going. Like we haven't taken the time to just say, like, is that actually what it is? Like, am I honest? Am I actually being honest with myself? Right?
Yeah.
Can I hear my own voice, or is it so like drowning in all the things that I'm doing for everyone else, or numbing out for whatever way because I don't want to feel it. So really it's like finding that answer, finding that wisdom underneath the layers that maybe takes a little bit of time and patience and love and
Yeah.
compassion. too. Cause like there's this like we're all human, like you said, and the things that we reach for to soothe are part of being human and not really knowing what else to do to soothe our system that feels is like buzzing all the time, maybe, or circulating energy all the time. We don't really know how to regulate from that. We haven't been taught. And that's
Yeah.
not by our own fault. It's there's a lot that goes behind that too, right?
Yeah, yeah. When I was reading your bio, the first thing I was thinking was cortisol, ER nurse. And then I knew you were coming in with some of your own traumas. I did not know about the pit bull thing, but like, how did that manifest within your own body? Like, what physically were you going through at that time?
For a long time during that season of my life, I physically couldn't feel anything from my neck to about my pelvis. So there was just like numbness. Even if I attempted to bring presence there, I couldn't. Like it was like a black hole. And so physically, that felt like I just needed to keep moving and going
Yeah.
and not turn off. So I did that by doing crazy adventures and soothing with alcohol and partying probably a little bit too much and going on crazy trips, being in really adrenaline seeking relationship. So physically it was like I was trying to meet that intensity with intensity. So there was a trying to soothe there, right?
Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So I also just didn't really give myself permission to feel anything else but sadness. That was the only emotion that I could really feel.
Why do you think that is?
Maybe that was the only emotion that was allowed in my family, was sadness.
Interesting.
So learning how to feel other things like anger and grief and rage and happiness, even like pure pleasure, was something that I really had to teach myself how to maybe give myself permission to feel and learn how to be with.
So when you describe like neck down to your knees or whatever as the black box, oddly that resonates, and I'm trying to get this explanation out. Like if someone's listening to this and we're talking about a somatic coach is likely to say, where do you feel that in your body? And if that's a black hole, for lack of a better term, which sounds terrible,
Yeah. Yeah.
if I had a band, that would be the name of the band, Black Hole. Yes. So my question actually is, yeah, multiple parts. Like, how did you approach that? But also, how did you realize that that was a void? Like that you were sort of bypassing that or you were unable to feel?
How did I know? It's because I started to do somatic work in myself and have coaches or breathwork facilitators that were like, well, yeah, where do you feel that in your body? Can you go into that place? And I was like, I literally can't. Like there is a wall up and I can't get in it. And my hyperachiever, I'm a high achiever. Like I'm, my history is like ER nurse, commercial fishing. Like I'm like, I can go, right? So I wanted to just go right in there and get it done and put some light in there and be able to feel the shit. And there was like a sense of frustration with that because people were trying to guide me into a place that wasn't ready and didn't want anybody in there feeling that stuff. And so looking back now to my own journey and then flash forward now to how I trained or how I've trained and how I approached that, what it needed and what that black hole needed was to just be observed and met in a different way. And with patience and love and presence, not try to force somebody into something that they're not ready to feel yet or don't have the capacity to feel yet. And I say that with love, not judgment, but like I didn't have the capacity to feel that. I wasn't ready. And those walls and that armoring was there for a reason to protect me, to protect my system. And that serves like that. Our bodies are smart and my body is smart and it knew to put up some things that were really, I wasn't supposed to feel that yet. I couldn't. It would have completely like flatlined me.
It
And
would have been too much, you think?
yes, it would have been too much for me and overwhelmed my system. So there
Wow.
is just like a drip in nursing, a titration. There is a titration to learning how to feel and be with, especially experiences that are big, like big T traumas and things that are trapped in the nervous system like that. There's a slowness to it, and there's a patience to it. I had to learn. I'm still continuously learning how to have patience with myself and tenderness with myself, and not just go hard into the thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. I hear that. I go hard into everything.
Uh-huh. And like, yeah, where did that come from? So there's just a lot of unraveling and relearning with old patterning that was really wired into my nervous system, and I think many people's nervous systems from early childhood. And when we first laid down our roadmap, so to speak, of that's
Yeah,
basically off of everything in our life. So it's really humbling work. And we were having a conversation earlier. It's like there's always more layers. And I feel like in the nervous system world, there's people that really speak to this as if it's just like they take the realness out of it, which is very infuriating, right? Because anyone that's actually done the embodiment work in themselves knows that the experience of it is the opposite of that. It's like very humbling, very painful at times. And it's also liberating and provides like true access to that voice and that wisdom and that the feeling that we actually want, right? The joy, the peace, the love, the presence. And also just like being able to be with the harder ones, like the rage and the anger with just as
yeah.
much presence.
That is really interesting. If someone's coming to you asking for a friend and they are feeling this, black hole, like what types of things are you recommending? Like how are you working with someone like that?
So I wouldn't go into the black hole right to start. We would, even
I'm
though
sorry.
that's what we want, right? Go fix that thing. We would first build connection and it's very simple. It is like we first have to maybe it's called resourcing, but we first have to like charge the battery, right? So making sure the body is very resourced and fueled, so to speak, before we start to build presence with those parts that don't have energy or are blocked or armored. And that looks like many different things, but especially with women who are high functioning and have a full plate, it's like, okay, where are we expending energy on things that are maybe can be cut off so we can put more into ourself. And it's not about doing more, but it's about learning how to be more present in the moment slowly and be more present in the body slowly from a fuel gas tank, so to speak, from a fuel battery, from a full battery.
So are you talking about basics like sleep, hydration, food, nutrition, stuff like that?
Yes. And, simple somatic practices like feeling your feet on the floor, feeling your seat in the chair, being able to do some simple breathwork practices as you're in the Costco parking lot to be like, I'm feeling really activated. Can I just let myself be there? And also, can I do a practice to try to bring presence to what's happening and connection to what's happening? So that I'm not discharging my shit on everyone around us or road clashing the guy to get the parking spot or whatever it might look like in the moment. But yes, it is both. It's how am I fueling myself? How am I sleeping? How am I honoring my basic needs? What are my needs? Do I know those things? And can I start to slowly build presence with my body in ways that feel safe, but not safe at the same time, ways that are slow and honor where the body is? And that's going to look different for depending on where people are. So we do that through simple practices, somatic practices. We do that through breath. We do that through presence, deep coaching. We do it through clearing the gunk out of life, which is drawing our energy and sucking our energy that doesn't need it anymore.
Yeah, and for someone like me who also is very busy and in it with life, for me, sometimes it's as simple as noticing when I'm driving that I'm clutching the steering wheel so hard that like I'm digging my nails into my hands, or I'm building a lot of tension in my shoulders because I'm so tightly wound, which takes me a couple minutes to actually feel within my body and go, wow, I'm sitting in this place of like pure tension and cortisol,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I can just take a deep breath. And like I recommend to clients small, little tiny things like that because, you know, it's I also like to normalize how fast-paced our life is. The
Mm-hmm.
reality of it is that it's hard to find time to sit down and it's like, okay, should I clean my house or should I spend time discovering what's in the black hole? Well, let's see what I can put off until tomorrow, right? Like laundry or the black hole. Well, I got to get laundry fucking done, right? So little things. Do
Mm,
you find that you start with real small with people, like in basic
yeah, I think
technique?
it's that's a perfect example of like I feel like people go into somatic practices with like or somatic awareness with like this, oh, it has to be this other thing. But really the art is like bringing it into what you're doing. So can I do laundry with more presence? Can I notice that I'm clenching my shoulders as I'm driving and wanting to like squeeze and like bring that, notice that, and consciously shift back and then be curious. There's this curiosity and consciousness too, those things. So yeah, little things. Can I clean the house, but more slow? And notice what my body's doing, notice what my emotions are. And so there's bringing it into real life that we're already doing, how we're parenting for me, how I'm coaching, and those kind of practices, they're very simple. We're already doing it. It's just bringing presence to it. So yes, yes.
That makes a lot of sense because I have a tendency to think about this type of work as a luxury. Like it's a side luxury. When I get time, I will do this type of stuff. But talking about integrating it into your everyday,
Hmm.
now you're speaking my language, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I mean, I don't want to be present when I'm doing my laundry, but I get what you're trying to say, right?
Mhm. Can I be a little bit more in my body with what it's doing right now than before? And that
Yeah.
it living the work versus making it another thing to do, right?
Hmm.
Because ultimately, like, what's the goal of this whole thing? Like,
Yeah.
why? Like, why are we? Why? Right? But it underneath it all for me is like, and why I teach it and why I think it's really important is that we are actually present and connected in our life that we are living. And from that place, we feel truly alive. Like we are able to like fully feel and be not just joyful, but like experience life from a present place. And that to me feels not hollow, but full.
Yeah, we talk about in the recovery communities, we end up numbing it all and you have no sense of real presence and being in it with life. And that sucks, right? And
Yeah.
so I've always been curious about this other aspect of healing. Like we can't just think our way out of problems most of the time.
It's
Um,
about 30%. So mindset's like 30, body's like 70 is the split.
Interesting. Say more about that.
Yeah. So like there are things that we do with mindset work. Mindset work is really powerful, but we can only really shift like 30% of what we need to from that place. 70% of that wiring is in the body. And so we have to go to the body to really truly make that long-term change in life and how we live and how we feel and how we be. So if we're not doing the body work, we're missing like 70% of the plate, so to speak, of where true change really does happen. Yeah.
That's interesting. When there was a lot of buzz around the book, The Body Keeps the Score, what was that conversation like in your community? I mean, are you finding a lot of validity and help from that? I don't know. I'm just
The
throwing this
first
out
book
there.
I read, actually. That was the book I read that changed. That's actually why I went into it, really.
Wow.
I haven't reread that book since I read it. I think I read it in 2020.
Mhm.
Uh, I haven't reread it, but it was a book that was like, huh, this is triggering and infuriating in many ways, but also like I'm curious about it.
Mhm.
I think there's been a lot of research, there's been a lot more awareness and attention put to what that book brought forward since. And that's amazing. And I think that's what human humans in the world really need. I think it brings into light like how important it is to work with the nervous system and not just the nervous system, but how who we are is actually so related to our wiring.
Yeah, the programming, set forth that blueprint going forward. A lot of the programming that we were kind of set up for as a young person. And this whole podcast and the premise of my coaching is that we can rewire,
Mhm.
and this is how we heal. It's a little slower as an adult, but through intention. And I love that you said curiosity. Will you tell me a little bit more about that? How that impacts your personal experience with this type of work and or your clients? Quick pause here, folks. If you've quit drinking, you're in early sobriety, no matter what that looks like for you, but you're still feeling bored or restless or struggling, wondering who you even are now, I want you to know that that is not failure. That's the middle. Now, some people call it the messy middle, but I call it the powerful middle. And I coach women one-on-one through the part that nobody talks about, the identity shifts and the emotional literacy and the rewiring. We are not white knuckling. We are not performative. We are not good girl sobriety. We're having real conversations, real insight, real change. So if this is you and you're ready to stop circling the same thoughts and move forward, book a one-on-one call with me. The link is in my bio, or it's on all my socials at Rewired Sober, and I'll put it in the show notes. Because what I've seen is quitting drinking doesn't automatically make you more confident or calm or clear. It just removes the fucking anesthesia. So if you're sober and you're thinking, oh, cool, now I have all these feelings and zero roadmap, I work with women one-on-one to help build that roadmap. And we talk about boundaries and identity, and we talk neuroscience, and we talk about the stuff you don't say out loud. So if this hits, I'd love to see you on a private session. You're not confused. You're in a transition, and that's sacred. Midlife women in sobriety don't need more rules. They need clarity and confidence, and a fucking coach who won't gaslight their intelligence. So hit me up if you're interested. I'd love to meet you. Now back to the show.
I think it's really important to talk about curiosity because really if we are actually curious about something, we have to be in a regulated ventral vagal part of our nervous system. Like that is part of being actually really curious with people, with life in the world. And I think also being in connection, in true connection to other people, we have to be in that part of our nervous system as well. So it's not necessarily about being regulated and like calm, but it's about being in our ventral vagal part of our nervous system so that we are actually curious. We are actually able to hear and see and stay connected to other humans and to ourselves throughout life, throughout our experiences. I think my experience with curiosity is that with self-curiosity or like being curious with myself, I had a really hard time in the beginning with that because I had such a harsh, I still do, like he still shows up. It's a man. Like I had such a harsh judger, like critical protector that would always come in and be like, you need to do it better and you're not doing enough. And like, you got to do it harder. It's like, I call him my whipper and he just like whips, he's so harsh. And he doesn't have any curiosity. He doesn't have any they're like love, right? There's some like love there. And so I've had to do a lot of work in myself to, like be with him, give him a different role. And like, so that I'm coming from a place of curiosity within myself. And then also when I'm with other people and in connection, trying to stay in that, like, I will say, I hate the word regulated right now, actually, but like staying in that place, staying in that window of tolerance so that I can actually stay curious. Because when we're not curious, we're like in fight or flight, or we're like completely shut down. Like we're not in that window.
I know it can feel kind of like a buzzword, and I kind of teed up this episode like that. Like, we don't want to talk about buzzwords, but it's just, when the cultural zeitgeist gets a hold of something and, pop psychology runs through TikTok, suddenly everyone's a narcissist and we're talking about nervous system regulation. And it's just these pop psychology trends. But two things can be true. It's important to keep a regulated nervous system for the simple fact, even if you just break it down to being alive and present in your body, not being overly activated. For me personally, it's about pausing before reacting in life. Because without that, that's how I went to compulsory behaviors. Quickly, I need to drink to numb. I need to eat to numb. I need to scroll. Like there was no pause. There was no checking in with the self, right? Mm-hmm. It was just a quick, check out, basically.
Yeah. So extending that time between stimulus and response
Yep.
is where freedom is, right? Like extending that pause. What am I feeling? What am I noticing? Do I still want to choose that thing that I'm reaching for with consciousness? Or is it a reactionary impulse that I'm
Yep.
reaching for whatever it might be? And maybe
Uh-huh.
you still choose the thing, but it's from a place of intention, right? It's from a place of choice. And that creates the life you want versus
Uh-huh.
a reactionary one, right? And there's freedom in that.
Yes, I love that. There is. There is so much freedom in that, being in control of your reaction. And I
Yeah.
see you sitting across from me on the screen, really calm and present. And there is freedom in that, in
Yeah.
being clear and present, right? Love that. Before we hit record, we were also talking about, we're both nurses, and we've both been through nurse coach training and all these different things and all these certifications we have. And you were talking about the importance of being educated on this topic and really well trained, not just some internet hack that's talking about breath work or, selling a yoga mat. And I really wanted you to bring up the importance of the training that you went through, not only how it shaped you, but why it's important for clients when they're seeking out a somatic practitioner to find someone with real credible training.
Yeah. I think my truth is what I've learned over the years is that that depth of training that I've gone through has not only been about learning the material and knowing the material from a head place, but it's been about learning where that lives in me and doing my own work and embodying my own work along the way. Because if I can meet myself and know myself in that way, that means when somebody's coming in a session with their version of wherever that lives in them, I can hold it and I know how to meet them there and hold them there and guide them to where they need to go on their own timing. But it's this getting the actual training and doing the embodiment work in that training so that I can hold people in their experience and not cause harm. And ultimately, that is living from a place of integrity,
Yeah,
just talking about things, but actually living the work. And living the work and embodying the work is, like I said, humbling. It's
of
humbling,
course.
feel, and it's messy and it's human. But I think because I've continuously like committed to that, I when people bring that to me, I'm like, yep, I know that. I can bring it, like I've got you here and I can be here with you in that. It doesn't scare me and I'm not going to try to fix you here. I'm going to be here with you. And that's so much healing is found in just bringing presence and being seen and being attuned to in those dark places, especially.
Yeah. When I hear you talking about this, I think about, the academic portion of it and also the portion of it where you yourself were vulnerable enough to put yourself in those positions, and experience that vulnerability of your own body and your own journey, essentially.
Hmm.
Um, and because that's what comes up for me a lot when I talk about coaching it's in sobriety is like, in order for me to lead other people down this path, not only did I need the academics and the science and the neuroscience, but I had to experience the vulnerability of ripping off the Band-Aid on all that shame myself and
Hmm.
all that stuff I was sort of hiding, stuffing down, cloistering. Like I'm not a person who likes to be super vulnerable, but I had to in order to get here. Like I had to do other levels of work, right?
Yes. Yes. And I think the other thing that is found in that, in being vulnerable and doing that work and ripping the Band-Aid off, is learning how to be seen in it and
Yeah.
held in and instead of experiencing it alone. And so much of what for high achievers, especially women, like hyper independence, it's actually an armoring of we weren't held in the way that we needed to. And so I think in that ripping off the Band-Aid and being vulnerable and being real, it's being seen in your pain and knowing that you're okay there to be supported and met.
What do you mean by not being held? Like, say more about that.
Yeah. So not being so a lot of this stems back to like childhood, right? That it can repeat. It does repeat over our lifetime. But really not being as a child, like having a big emotion or having a big experience, for whatever reason, maybe the care provider didn't have the capacity or the ability to be with that emotion. So instead they stepped it down, go to your room, made you, even crying it out kind of thing. It's like you weren't held, you weren't supported in your experience. So that emotion didn't have time to complete or didn't have the ability to complete. So it gets interrupted and stopped. And when we talk about trauma, little g, big G trauma, or whatever, it's like that is just the ability that, or sorry, it's the stuffing of those experiences into the system. And so when we talk about being held and being supported, it's bringing awareness to where those things got trapped in our body and being seen and met. So those things can complete, those cycles can complete.
Mhm. I love
And
that.
yeah, and coaching, it's being, we're being held by our coach. If they're attuned, they're an attuned presence, they're a safe presence for us. And we can allow ourselves to take a breath as I say that, to be seen, and not just in our pain, but in our light too.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That tracks for sure. What type of like practical things are you encouraging people to do? Like we were talking about laundry and day-to-day household tasks. And if the audience would take away like some practical tips here, what do you got?
Practical tips. I usually start people with simple practices like, are you familiar with the BASE acronym?
No.
So the BASE acronym is like the B stands for like noticing your breath. The
Yeah.
A is the action that you want to take. So it's bringing presence to what's your breath doing? What's the action that you want to take? What's the sensation? And what's the emotion? So just
Okay.
starting to bring presence to what's my breath doing? What's the action, the impulse that I want to take? I want to reach for whatever, the drink, the carb, whatever it is. What sensation do I notice? Oh, I actually don't notice sensation. I notice the black hole. Okay. That's noticing, right? I notice the black hole in my system. And maybe I have like a buzzing in my chest. Beautiful. Emotion. I feel anxious. I feel overwhelmed. I feel frustrated.
Yeah.
So just bringing conscious awareness. And those are things you're doing as you're moving through life. Like I'm in the Costco parking lot, breath is fast. The
Yeah.
action I want to take is ram the guy's car. Sensation, I'm feeling a fluttering in my chest. I'm feeling like I want to attack, right? Emotion, frustration, anger, whatever it might be. So just starting to bring presence and naming it in the moment with daily life is a big part of it.
Hmm.
The second part is I'm really curious with women in particular how much white space they're giving themselves without input. So like how much time they're taking for something that they want to do that doesn't have an attachment to an outcome, so that they can actually hear what's happening. So often
Wow.
they'll have people like go for a walk out. And these are very simple things, but like nature is such a healer. So how much time are they spending in nature, just walking in nature without listening to a podcast, without listening to music, without absorbing anything else, so that they can actually like start to notice. Because noticing is a big part. So another one is orienting. So, which is again, you're doing this throughout your day. You don't need to make another fucking thing to do, right? It's just like you're starting to integrate these practices into real life. But orienting is really powerful because it starts to bring safety and presence in the moment. So when we talk about orienting, it's just really looking around with what we're seeing and like actually seeing the thing.
Yeah.
So, for example, like I'm looking around my room, I notice that around the window there's a tree, and I can see the tree has like these really robust, like pine needles on it, and it's big and it's hardy and it's sitting in the water. So, starting to really see the thing in front of me and describe it even out loud, it's really powerful to do it out loud, starts to bring just presence and safety. to the body. Like, I can be here now.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I love that you mentioned that because immediately when you were talking about white space, not listening to a podcast, learning, multitasking, like my butt cheeks clenched because I'm thinking about that I'm about to go commute to a lunch date with a friend. And on the way, I'll be making some phone calls. I'll be listening to a podcast. I'll be learning some new things, mentally cataloging my tasks for the next few days, right? I got a 12-hour shift coming up as a nurse. And the thought of just driving and being alone with the scenery and my thoughts. Oh, Mary, take the wheel. I can't with that. And so I love that. Like, that's calling me out on just hearing that is like, wow, yeah, how much time do I spend without multitasking and telling myself I have to accomplish something, input something, right?
Mhm.
I'm programmed to be constantly inputting my brain, learning more, growing more, especially us in the personal development space. It's like we always want to be, learning the newest thing. I don't know if you experience this, but I get like personal development podcast burnout because I'm like, I can't learn one more thing, right?
There's
I
so
have
much.
to.
So, yes.
Yeah.
I think that one of my mentors says this thing, like, we bring high achieving into our healing journey, and it's
Yes.
really true. Um,
Dang
and
it.
so, yeah, like learning how to do one thing, like monotask or doing nothing, even for 20 minutes. One of my favorite resets, honestly, is like to lay on my floor without my phone. My health practitioners had me do this many years ago when I was struggling with adrenal fatigue, but she literally has me lay on the floor for 20 minutes with no phone, nothing, and not falling asleep, just like laying on the floor. And it's so simple, but honestly, every time I do it, my adrenals, I can like feel them come down my back. Oh, the ground is here. It's like it's really important to give ourselves like short little moments where we're not going at that pace and not trying to learn more and absorb more of it, because that just leads, even as I'm talking about it, I'm like, like so much input.
Yeah. 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 I love that analogy about high achievers take that into their healing, because I joke with some of my sobriety clients, like, you get a gold star, you did really good, you impressed the coach today, but that's not the point. Right.
Yes.
We carry that high achiever mentality into so much of what we do, the people pleasing and the hustling for our worth. And so that's funny. And that's something I'm going to definitely use. This has been so helpful, just learning these little tidbits and having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. Where can people find you if they want to engage in some more work with you or just learn more about you?
Yeah, I am active on social media. So Amyee Owen, last name is Oen. And
Yes. Yes.
and my website is my first and last name. So AmyeeOen.com. And yeah, you can find out all the links are on there. Find out more. And I would love
I
to
will
chat.
put it I will put it all in the show notes because you do have a very unique spelling to your name.
Yes. It's a simple name. It's annoying spelling.
It's not very intuitive. And
No.
so, yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been really helpful.
Yeah. Thank you, Kate, for having me. Happy to be
Yeah, I
here.
love this conversation. Okay, cool. We're going to close it out. I hope this was helpful for all of you and look for some resources in the show notes. Thanks for spending this time with me. I love you all so very much, and I mean it. You can find me on all the socials at Rewired Sober. The links to join my coaching program are always in the show notes, as well as an email if you want to get in touch with the pod. So until next time.